With a career spanning more than 2 decades, M. Ward has released over a dozen studio albums and buckets more collaborative work, establishing him as one of the preeminent voices in alternative folk. I caught up with Matt before his Sydney headline show to talk about collaboration, legacy, and more. Matt, very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for being here.
Happy to be here.
For anybody who isn't familiar with your music, can you quickly introduce yourself and a little bit of what you do?
I'm mainly producing music for other artists, and then I make my own records as well. But I fell in love with the guitar at high school age, and that's been my main source of avocation ever since high school. And it's led me down a lot of interesting paths, and it's led me to being back here in Sydney for a tour with my band.
Tell me about your relationship with the guitar as both a vocation and an avocation.
Yes, I discovered it. It was just sitting around in my brother's closet, being neglected, and I was basically just like, what is this thing? And I ended up spending, a lot of time with it, and eventually buying a 4-track recorder in high school, and started building songs and restructuring songs that I loved, and it's really grown from there. But yeah, everything can be traced back to experiments with the guitar.
Cool. You've been releasing music for well over 2 decades now. How do you feel your creative process has developed over that period?
I would like to think that it's just gone in more directions. Whereas when I first started, it was, I only had one record. And I feel like it's just exploded into all different directions, mainly through collaboration and experimentation.
Well, just on the note of collaboration, I wanted to congratulate you on Geckos. That's a super collaborative project.
Cheers. Thank you.
Much like a lot of your catalog. What role does collaboration have in continuing to innovate as a songwriter?
Yeah, it means everything. It gets lonely just doing everything by myself. And there is that side of writing that has to be done by myself. But when it comes time to making a record, the best way is to surround yourself with talented people. And I'm lucky to have a lot of talented friends and people that can take a song to places that you would never dream of on your own. So, yeah, I'm not too interested in producing records completely on myself, on my own. It's part of the joy of music is seeing what happens when you bring in the X factor of other people's creativity.
How do you balance creative visions and creative energies in collaboration?
The balance is it's a good question. The way I look at it is every good production, every good record starts off 50% with good songwriting and built-in structure. The other half of it is needs to be discovered in the act of production. If you lean too far one way or the other, then it upsets the balance. And so I think the biggest thing is opening yourself up to the chaos of collaboration and making sure you love the structure, which is the song, and making sure you love the collaborators, which is the production.
This most recent collaborative work that you've been a part of was recorded across Tucson, Ireland, London, and Bristol.
Mm-hmm.
What role does geography or your location of recording have in developing a creative work?
It has a lot to do with it, but even more is just the people that inhabit these places and the studios. And a lot of times that means, the instruments that you choose to use. But yeah, the biggest thing is just the people that are in these places. And
inside and outside of the studio?
Yeah, it's mainly just inside the studio. There is, different energy in all those cities you mentioned, but most important thing is the minds of the engineers and musicians that I work with.
You're quite a singular artist in the contemporary folk landscape. I'm interested in who some of the artists are that you keep coming back to as a listener.
Yeah. Well, first name that comes to mind is this guy, Howlin Wolf. He's always who I want to hear for some reason. For my in-house music, I never get tired of listening to his music. He's just one of those artists that is impossible for me to get tired of.
What do you think you like about his music in particular?
I mean, it's a good question. I don't know why I never get sick of his music, but there's just some energy that's there that feels just like a living room that you want to hang out in.
What kind of energy do you hope to convey through your own work?
It's up to the listener. People interpret the music in so many different ways, and I invite that.
For a lot of folks, you're one of these artists that people keep coming back to, particularly with albums like The Transfiguration of Vincent, which has been out for over 20 years now.
Yeah.
I think the first time I saw you was to commemorate 20 years of
That
the
sounds
record.
right.
How has your relationship with an album that is dear to so many changed over the years?
Well, when I was making the record, I had no idea I would have this sort of staying power, but it keeps coming up in conversations and interviews like this that there's a love for it, and I don't really question how it came about. It's more of a process of just loving the mystery of it and following, I'm still following where those songs want to go, and I'm playing it live again, and different iterations with different musicians. I'm just really happy it has a life of its own. The mystery of how this record happened and why this particular set of songs is still finding its way into people's inboxes is a mystery to me, but I love it. I'm happy to be continuing to restructure these songs and relive whatever area they live in.
That's a special thing. Yeah.
Cheers.
If you could play me any album, what would you play me? And feel free to pick 3 because a lot of people can't narrow it down to one.
Yeah. Well, the records if you listened to my, I don't have Spotify, but I have Tidal. And, every year they tell me what my most listened to artists are. And I can tell you right now that there's a John Coltrane record called Ballads that I've probably listened to more than any record ever.
What do you like about it?
Again, it's just like it feels like a living room that I want to just live in. And I would say, yeah, John Coltrane's Ballads is something that everyone should spend time with. If I had to name some more records off the top of my head, there's just so many. I've been digging into a Rolling Stones record called Aftermath a lot.
Cool.
That one's
deep.
a good one. Yeah. That one's very deep.
What do you like about that one?
Well, I've spent a lot of time listening to who inspired them when they were first starting, and then in comparison with the Beatles, which is who I studied the most in high school. I just feel like the combination of what those guys created when they got together, in consideration of the things that they were consuming, it's just pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan.
If you have one more for me, I'd love to hear it.
One more, I would say, how about Goo by Sonic Youth? That was a huge influence for me in high school, and the experimentalism of the guitars is something that inspired me and continues to inspire me with mainly their use of guitars and guitar tunings.
It's a beautiful thing that something that is sonically such a departure from the work that you do has still subliminally bled its way in.
It's still working its way into my brain, and it's mainly they come from experiments with guitar, and that's what I consider a huge part of what I do for a living. And some mysteries aren't meant to be solved, and if you do solve them, then it sort of lessens the mystery of whatever star you're following. And thankful for that. Thankful for all those mysteries.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks
for your time. I appreciate it.
Good to talk to you.